Welcome in, my Canvas peeps. Now that we have all of our courses synced and loaded from Synergy, and you've been spending some time building your courses in our blueprints, it's time for me to show you how the syncing process works with the blueprints. So I'm going to pull up one of my blueprints down here in the very bottom, and you'll notice that I've got all my courses loaded here in the top. I've got my published courses up here, and I've got my unpublished courses down here on the bottom. And what I'm going to be looking for is my Global Studies blueprint. And so I'm going to enter into that course, and you'll know that it's a blueprint. Hopefully it might even be labeled as blue or blueprint in the title, but you'll also know that it's a blueprint by the blue square in the right hand corner. This is your blueprint button. This is your blueprint sync button. When you click on it, it's going to pull out a side menu, and you're going to get a couple of different options here. The first one is you're going to see associations. So when you click on associations, you're going to see the classes that your blueprint is associated with. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you make a change in your content or your points in your blueprint and you sync it over, it will push over those changes to these specific courses. Okay? I went through this and synced everybody or associated everybody's courses to their blueprints. If you have a course in your dashboard that is not associated with your blueprint, please reach out and let me know. So I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to talk about a couple things in terms of how you might use your blueprint and if you need to make any adjustments. So if I need to make a change to something like a quiz or a module, or you forgot to publish something, this is also another time to talk a little bit about publishing. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go into my modules section here, and this is where you're going to have the publish and the locked buttons that are really important. When you come to kind of the modules overview, these little green check marks indicate that something is published. Over here in the left-hand side, these also indicate that these are part of a blueprint course. Okay, and so when I click on this top one here, the first thing that you need to remember, so see this little button right up here where it just says blueprint, and then when I hover over it, it says locked. This, you should try to make sure that you lock this, okay? And the reason for that is this does not mean that students are locked out of this page, okay? If you don't want students to see a page, then unpublish it, okay? If you publish it, then students will see that, all right? And the reason for that is because the way blueprints worked, you need to see that locked button, and if it goes away, I'm not sure why it went away there. I'm guessing that's because I already did it. When it's locked, that means that the blueprint, when you make a change, it will push it out to your associated courses, okay? If those things are not locked, then the blueprint will not sync those changes. So just let me review that real quick. If you do not see the locked button, okay, and it's not locked, let me rephrase that. If you don't see the lock button locked for your blueprint, it will not sync those changes to your associated course. So those need to be clicked. Those need to be selected. If you don't want students to see something right away, that's where you're going to unpublish or publish, so they can see it. Students will see things that are published. They will not see things that are unpublished. Okay? See this little info button up here? When I set up our blueprints, what I set up for blueprints to push out, you can set up certain things in the blueprint to sync with your courses, and you can uncheck things that you don't want to be synced with your courses. So I selected content and points because for the most part, those things don't change in your classes. Those things remain the same. But what does change from time to time are due dates and the view dates that students can see content. So, for example, like if you have a class on Monday, you might have a different due date for an assignment if you have a class on Tuesday. So if you have period 3 on Mondays, right, you might make a due date for something on, Wednesday. But if you have period 7 or period 8 on Tuesday, then you might want to make that due date for Thursday. So if if we set this up to be due dates in blueprints, then you wouldn't be able to change those due dates in your courses. So later on when you push over your content and your stuff from your blueprint to your courses, you might need to go back into your courses to readjust certain due dates. So just to be aware. Now, caveat to that, if you are a teacher that kind of runs maybe like a college style course, and or like a project based course, and so you just set a certain due date consistently, for every class, doesn't matter when you meet, and it's the same date for everyone, then it might be a better idea to lock the due dates in for your blueprints. If that's the case, then reach out to me and I will change that so that way it makes it more efficient for you to set due dates in your blueprint. So I'm going to quickly go back to my modules here, and I'm going to actually make an update to something. I'm going to go ahead and publish my week 2. I'm going to go ahead and go into my world religions overview. I haven't written anything yet in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, actually, I wanted to make this a world religions project overview. Okay, and I'm going to hit save, and obviously, I'd probably end up making a lot more changes. I'm going to make sure that is locked there. I'm going to go back out to my modules, and I'm just going to go through and lock all of these right here. This is a nice, quick, and easy way to just check to see what's locked. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock some of these on the fly. So all of this stuff will publish, and all of this stuff will sync over to my associated courses. So now that I've made some changes, I need to go over to my blueprint button in the right hand corner and click that open. And now that you've made changes, you'll notice that my window here is a little bit different. Now I have a sync button. So if you haven't made any changes recently, or if the Canvas synced overnight, then this won't show up. But when you make a change, this window will open. You'll notice you have a couple of click options here, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave those unchecked. It does show that I have 13 unsynced changes. So that's showing me that right now that those changes are not active in my associated courses. So that's why I need to hit the sync button. So here I go. I just hit sync. And depending on how many changes or how much content and how many classes you have will determine how long this actual process takes. There we go. Okay, but before I, call it good, I want to make sure that those things are working correctly. So I'm going to go out back to my dashboard and click into one of my classes and go to my modules where I made those changes, and looks like everything's published in there. And then I'm going to double check to make sure that change made it over to my project page there. And there we go. It says World Religions Project Overview. That's exactly what I want it to be. Now, if I want to go in and unpublish these just for this class, I can do that. Or if I need to make changes to due dates to some of these things, like say my pre-survey, if this class is on Tuesday, I might need to change the due date for this because in my blueprint, I may have set it for, a different due date, which is fine. Hit the edit button and down here where it says the assign button, I can go in and change the due date, and that is going to be due on the 11th of September, and hit done and hit save. So you can still make changes to individual assignments in your classes that, for items that are not locked. So items that are not locked are due dates and the availability dates. So if I go to edit here again, the available from and until to, those items are unlocked for you, so you can make changes to that content. Okay, so if you have multiple classes, like I know some of you do, some of you have 8 sections of the same class. That's why it's super efficient for you to get this muscle memory down, that when you need to make an adjustment to your class, do so in your blueprint. So go back to your dashboard, look for your blueprint, and make that change in your blueprint, because if you have 8 sections of the same class, it's going to push out those changes. And if you need to need to see what your sync history is, to, like kind of where did I make those changes? What did I need to do there? You can go back and look at your sync changes. It'll show you all the different things that got pushed out. So it'll show you a list of that, of all those things and the date that those things got pushed out. So it's a pretty handy little feature. Again, if you are a teacher that would like to have your due dates, like synced, from your blueprint, just reach out to me and I can make that happen for you. You will have to obviously resync your blueprints. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in the email address at the end of the video. I hope this helps you. It's a quick reminder, and again, I think this is one of those things where once you use it a few times, it'll just become second nature to you. And it's also, I think, one of the most powerful features in Canvas for people who have multiple sections of a course. If you only have one section in a course, it's likely that you're not going to need a blueprint. So if that's you, then obviously this video doesn't apply. So I'm sorry you watched this whole thing to get to the very end for me to say that. I should put that in the front, shouldn't I? Well, anyway, happy canvassing.